Wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Singer Dawn Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things will make you do strange things.
Sean Diddy Combs, a once celebrated mogul in the music industry, is now facing the most consequential challenge of his life. His public persona as a charismatic entrepreneur and hip-hop icon is being dismantled in real time during a federal trial centered on severe allegations of abuse, trafficking, and racketeering. In an explosive first week of testimony, former Danity Kane member Dawn Richard, along with Cassie Ventura's close friend Carrie Morgan, delivered shocking revelations under oath about Combs' alleged abuse of Cassie. These accounts have captivated and disturbed the public, revealing a world of violence, coercion, and fear.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual.
The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak offs.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about freak off.
Sean Combs is no stranger to headlines. As the founder of Bad Boy Records, he cultivated the careers of Notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, Maze, and more. He launched fashion brands, alcohol lines, and media companies. His ability to reinvent himself, from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy to just Diddy, kept him in the spotlight for decades. But behind the glamour and success, a much darker narrative was allegedly unfolding. In November 2023, Cassie Ventura filed a bombshell lawsuit alleging more than a decade of physical abuse, trafficking, and manipulation at the hands of Combs. Although the case was settled out of court within 24 hours, it opened the floodgates for a series of lawsuits and a sprawling federal investigation that culminated in a criminal trial in 2020.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and a hostile work environment by being exposed to sex trafficking and sex acts. She also alleged that she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her suit, Richard stated she was seeking compensatory and punitive damages, as well as other costs for post-traumatic stress, anxiety, and emotional suffering, and financial losses she suffered as a result of Combs' alleged behavior. Combs has denied her allegations. His lawyer told E! News in September, Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. Richard's testimony in Combs' ongoing trial comes 8 months after she accused the rapper in a lawsuit of subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment. The lawsuit, filed in September, obtained by E! News, stated, Mr. Combs frequently held meetings with Ms. Richard wearing only his underwear, despite Ms. Richard's protests and repeated requests for him to put on clothing. In her filing, the 41-year-old also alleged that Combs ordered her to strip down to her underwear, made demeaning remarks about her body, and entered her dressing room unannounced while she was unclothed, and touched her without her permission under the guise of showing the stylist what to do.
In the first week of the trial, Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane and longtime associate of Combs, took the stand. Her testimony provided visceral and unsettling details of what she claims she witnessed during the height of Bad Boy's success. According to Richard, Combs was volatile, violent, and abusive, particularly toward Cassie Ventura. She stated, I watched him drag her, punch her, kick her. He beat her in front of all of us. In one instance, Richard described waking up early to find Combs in a rage because breakfast was not prepared. She said he hit Cassie with a skillet, causing visible bruises. The courtroom was silent as she recounted moments where staff and artists were forced to look the other way out of fear. Richard also described the climate of intimidation. He told me if I ever said anything, he would kill me. I believed him. Her voice shook as she spoke, recounting how Combs's violence was not limited to Ventura. Richard claimed she was also beaten for simply speaking to Cassie without his permission. Carrie Morgan, Cassie Ventura's best friend for over a decade, gave equally disturbing testimony that mirrored and corroborated Richard's claims. Morgan testified to seeing Combs choke Ventura unconscious after a party. In another incident, she described how he assaulted her personally. "He beat me with a wooden hanger because I tried to intervene." According to Morgan, both she and Cassie were living in a state of psychological terror under Combs' control. Morgan's description of the abuse lined up with many of the specific injuries Ventura detailed in her original lawsuit. She was not allowed to speak freely, wear what she wanted, or go anywhere without permission, Morgan testified. "We lived in fear." The testimonies left many in the courtroom visibly shaken. Journalists reported that Combs appeared increasingly agitated during Don Richards' testimony. At one point, he allegedly slammed his hand on the defense table, prompting the judge to call for a brief recess to restore order.
If she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant, but now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Every time I have a witness doing something is when two guys and two girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Danity Kane alum Don Richard, who began working with Sean Diddy Combs while competing on his show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand after Cassie wrapped her testimony May 16th. Richard joined Combs' group Diddy Dirty Money after Danity Kane disbanded. While on the stand, she told jurors that she saw Combs hit Ventura with a skillet full of eggs at his Los Angeles home in 2009. Richard testified per NBC News. He came downstairs asking where his phone was, and he threw her to the ground. He attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and went into the fetal position, literally trying to hide her head. In addition to striking Ventura with the skillet, Richard said Combs put his arm around the singer's neck and took her upstairs before she heard glass breaking. Richard added, "I was scared for her. I was scared to do anything."
Sources close to the courtroom described Combs as losing composure, an uncharacteristic response from someone long known for controlling the narrative around his public image. Outside the courtroom, supporters of the #MeToo and #Surviving Diddy movements gathered with signs reading, "Justice for Cassie," and "Protect Black Women." The media coverage intensified, with major outlets covering the trial daily. Prosecutors allege that Combs operated a criminal enterprise under the guise of his entertainment empire. The charges against him include sex trafficking across state lines, coercion and abuse of multiple women, racketeering, drug distribution and firearm possession related to acts of violence. The government's strategy appears to hinge not only on victim testimonies but also on a web of financial records, surveillance footage, and communications allegedly linking Combs to illicit acts. According to court documents, multiple witnesses are expected to testify about freak-offs, sex parties allegedly orchestrated by Combs that involved intoxicated or coerced women. Diddy's legal team, led by high-profile defense attorney Jeffrey Lichtman, has aggressively pushed back against the allegations. Lichtman claims that the witnesses are bitter ex-employees and failed artists seeking revenge or money. They're rewriting history to fit a narrative, Lichtman said during opening statements. Mr. Combs is not perfect, but he is not a monster. The defense has sought to undermine Richard's credibility by pointing to her continued professional relationship with Combs years after the alleged abuse occurred. However, Richard countered on the stand, stating she feared retribution and had no financial independence at the time. Despite the magnitude of the allegations, many industry insiders have remained publicly silent.
Things that she's gonna have to bring up into the lawsuit, that Diddy stopped the way that she was working and how she could work by the fact that he would change, like you just said. What she would do, bro, he would turn off her mic and don't let her sing songs or don't let her do certain things, a part of the band, when he do her sexual advancements. I don't know what to say about that, brother. All I can say is that, you know, all of it sounds like using his power. He's using his power to get at people that works for him. And when you do that, when they bring you to court, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose if they can prove it.
One text message, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you."
We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him.
Jurors also heard an audio recording where Cassie could be heard threatening to kill a Diddy associate who had video of one of her freak-offs with Diddy.
The jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised.
Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy.
I think they're trying to use what they can again to discredit her.
Critics argue that Combs' power and connections helped shield him from scrutiny for decades. "Everybody knew something," said a former label executive anonymously. "They just didn't want to lose the money." The case has drawn comparisons to R. Kelly's downfall. However, Combs' reach extends even further, into fashion, film, liquor, and philanthropy. The silence of major record labels and music platforms is now being scrutinized. Some have begun distancing themselves. Revolt TV, which Combs co-founded, has removed him from the board. Diageo, his former liquor partner, ended their relationship in 2023 after allegations surfaced. Cassie Ventura, while not yet testifying in the current criminal trial, has become a symbol for many survivors of abuse. Her original lawsuit detailed years of control, forced drug use, and physical assault. After the settlement, she stated, "My silence ends now. I hope my story helps others speak out." Advocacy groups like Time's Up and Reign have used the trial as a rallying point to demand more industry protections and whistleblower support for artists and staffers trapped in abusive environments. The trial is expected to continue for several more weeks. Upcoming witnesses may include former staffers, assistants, bodyguards, and even other celebrities. Prosecutors have also hinted at surveillance recordings and incriminating text messages that may soon be presented in court. Legal experts suggest the government is building a case not only of individual abuse but of a sustained criminal pattern, an enterprise operated under the cover of entertainment. As the trial unfolds, one thing is certain: the curtain has been pulled back on one of music's most powerful figures. Whether Sean Diddy Combs will be convicted remains to be seen, but the testimonies of Don Richard and Carey Morgan have already changed the public's perception. This case is about more than a man's fate, it's about how power, money, and silence can conspire to shield violence. The coming weeks will determine whether justice will be served, and whether the entertainment world is ready to confront its darkest truths.